Welcome to the What's New in Centrify Infrastructure Services 2017.3 on-demand webinar. My name is Hubert Sigler from our technical support team. The purpose of this presentation is to highlight the major and notable new features and changes of our latest release. Before I proceed, I would note that updates for infrastructure services will now include relevant updates from our cloud products as more features intersect. So let's begin. Beginning with our open source package updates, namely our dzdo or Centrify enhanced sudo, we've added support for running privileged commands under SELinux. We also updated our bundled curl package with a newer version that supports SPN EGO. Next, for our direct control agent, perhaps our biggest announcement is support for Container Linux or CoreOS. We will explain our support for this new platform in a few moments. Moving on to our plugin updates, some of them have been refreshed, namely our DB2 plugin, our Samba or 80bind proxy integration component. Also, our SAP plugin has also been refreshed to be supported in this release. Also, under usability and configuration, we've added a new timeout option for dzdo, and we've added a new tool for managing web proxy settings, of which we also have just supported in this release. Lastly, regarding our platform integration, we have added integration with our analytics engine, conditional access for MFA, and support for web proxy. Here is a brief visual example of our new support for SELinux in dzdo. From the Access Manager example shown here, when you either create a new command or edit an existing one, here is where to go to see the location of the new SELinux options. Next, we will review the updates for our Agent for Windows component, beginning with the new self-service features for users. So, for our Windows agent, a user can now reset their password and also perform other self-service actions based on policies. This feature can also leverage multi-factor authentication for added assurance, and there's also an audit trail that gets recorded and can get aggregated into like a SEAM solution for tracking. Our enrollment has been enhanced to support either bulk enrollment in addition to individual enrollment. Over on the platform and integration side, much like for Unix, we have conditional access. This is for login and privilege elevation, and support for browser zero sign-on. Next, we will discuss updates to some of our utilities and optional add-ons. Our AD key tab utility introduces a new parameter so you can set the encryption type for certain operations. Our LDAP proxy service now supports anonymous root queries, and this is useful for certain devices and appliances that require the root DSE query for connection and health checking. The included SQL Express package included with our main download has also been updated to a newer version which includes support for TLS 1.2. This package is primarily used for report service and audit evaluations. On the report service component, the delegation report, which was previously only included in our console-based reports, are now supported through our reporting service. We've also added some new performance enhancements to the reports shown. Over on the auditing component, we have added the audit capability on CoreOS or Container Linux, as well as with direct control. Also, we've expanded the audit trail events in the categories of direct authorize, PAM, SSH, dzdo, and dzsh or restricted shell. There's also a new console report for MFA events. And lastly, we've expanded PowerShell capability. Here is a summary of all the platform support changes for this release. I will only highlight some of the items here, namely support for the latest AWS Linux, the latest CentOS and Oracle Linux, which typically lag a little behind Red Hat, which we already support. Only one OS is removed this time, specifically for one particular one for Mac, and perhaps most notable on the last release page is that this will be the last release which officially supports the Windows 2003 Domain Functional Level, or DFL, of which, in case you're not aware, this OS, and by extension DFL level, is now end of life by the vendor. As mentioned earlier, I will also review some relevant updates to our cloud platform as well, which arrived since our prior release. In 17.9, updates include support for checkpoint devices, the option to schedule discovery of systems, the ability to have granular password checkout at the individual account level. For a customer using our privileged service agent for Linux, the ability to check out database and domain accounts via the CLI has been added. We will also have an expanded set of ServiceNow requests. On 17.10, we added support for IIS application pool identities, which are a new specific privilege identity type. We've also added an effective rights report or parameterized reports. These are reports which allow you to define parameters on the fly without requiring the need to create a custom report. We've also updated our SSH gateway to support things like a login banner and per connector settings, so you can dedicate a connector to a specific task. We've also enhanced the endpoint password generation profiles. These are for our Mac endpoints. And we've also added, this was the first release that added preview support for OAuth 2. We also enhanced workflow, so in the event to account for situations where no manager is specified. And lastly, for this release, for phone MFA, we now have the option to require a PIN when using this multi-factor option. Finally, on 17.11, we added conditional access, which means you can now have analytics or our intelligence platform perform analysis and provide MFA challenges based on certain risk factors. The AD admin account feature of privileged service can now be used for SAPM operations like password checkout and rotation, whereas previously it could only be used for support operations like account unlock. We also added the ability to add accounts in privileged service now as a separate permission, so that can be delegated. We've also added support for the FIDO UTF MFA standard, support for multiple AWS root accounts on the same user portal, and lastly, we added password checkout for Mac local admin accounts. Previously, you could view, but you could not rotate the password. Drilling down into our major new features, once more, 2017.3 is our first release with support for CoreOS or Container Linux. Among the unique aspects of our support of this platform is a distinct installation path and installation method, both which were necessary given the unique characteristics of this OS. Please note Centrify Express is not supported. Regarding what specifically is supported on CoreOS include the following: AD authentication or bridging, Unix identity management, including AD group-based control of core or Docker secondary groups, access control, privilege elevation through dzdo privilege commands, and support for session capture replay through our audit service. A few other notable items. For FIPS, we haven't yet validated OpenSSL in this environment yet. And also, any options not already mentioned have not yet been supported, including group policies, NIS, advanced monitoring. Next, we'll review and show a brief example of the new self-service options for the agent for Windows. In this slide here, you can see some examples of what the user experience is like when a user wishes to reset their password. So you can see they can select forgot password. In this particular example, we've configured MFA so that users challenge with an MFA challenge before they can perform this self-service task. And assuming they can satisfy the challenge, they can have their password reset, and also showing how the event is registered on the agent as well. Windows Device Management, or MDM, enrollment was previously supported on our cloud platform, but now has added features, namely the ability to do enrollment via our agent for Windows. Previously, it was done directly from the OS. This has facilitated more enterprise features like bulk enrollment and administration from the admin portal. By enrolling a device, you can take advantage of our single sign-on access to our app service platform. Here are some screens showing how the new MFA and Conditional Access in action. In the examples shown, a policy is configured in the admin portal with a condition if an action deemed high risk by our analytics platform should be blocked. In the screens below, it shows the messages seen at the endpoint or at the server. Before we conclude, here are some resources you may use for more information on what was discussed. The first link will take you to our official announcement. The middle link will direct you to our download center on the Centrify support portal, where you can download this release. And the final two links will take you to our docs page, including the release notes for more details on the new features and changes announced here. Thank you for watching this on-demand webinar. I hope this information was useful and look forward to your feedback and questions in the community.